Thanks for watching ERi-TV, dear viewers. Welcome to our news broadcast. Here are the headlines. President Isaias Afwerki returns back home. Meeting on strengthening environmental sanitation. EU gives Ukraine military of $27 billion. China's Xi Jinping arrives in US ahead of summit with Joe Biden. In our domestic news, President Isaias returned back home at midday today, 15 November, concluding a fruitful visit to Riyadh, where he attended the Saudi Arabia-Africa Summit, which was convened on 10 November in Riyadh City under the theme Productive Partnership. During his stay in Saudi Arabia, President Isaias met and held talks with Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of the Republic of Egypt, President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud of the Federal Republic of Somalia, President Salva Kiir Mayardit of the Republic of South Sudan, and General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Chairman of Sudan Sovereign Council, on bolstering bilateral ties and mutual cooperation, as well as on regional stability and security of the Red Sea. President Isaias also held similar meetings with presidents of Gabon and Burundi, Prime Minister of Niger, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Mali, Speaker of the Transitional Government of Burkina Faso, and Saudi Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture. In addition, President Isaias Afwerki conducted interview with prominent Saudi media outlets, focusing on the relations between Eritrea and Saudi Arabia and future prospect, relations between Saudi Arabia and Africa, as well as significance of the Saudi Arabia-Africa Summit in bolstering the already existing ties and cooperation. The presidential delegation included Mr. Osman Saleh, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Mr. Hagos Gabrihiwet, Head of Economic Affairs of the PFDJ, Mr. Nasruddin Mohammed Saleh, Minister of Trade and Industry, and Ambassador Isa Ahmed Isa. Ginda subzone held a meeting on 8 November with the aim of enhancing environmental sanitation activities to control the prevalence of malaria. The objective of the meeting, in which area administrators, heads of health stations, village health representatives, religious leaders and public representatives took part, was to urge the public to remain vigilant to control the prevalence of malaria that may arise with the current rainfall. Mr. Mikhail Hagos, Head of Malaria Control in the subzone, called on the public to conduct sustainable environmental sanitation activities and frequent the use of impregnated bed nets. Mr. Mikhail also said that there is a program to spray insecticides and distribution of impregnated bed nets in the near future. In the same vein, meeting focusing on controlling communicable diseases was conducted on 9 November in Ginda, indicating that Ginda subzone is one of the subzones of the Northern Red Sea region that has introduced the use of modern latrines. Mr. Rezan Fissaha, Director General of Social Service in the region, called for stronger participation for better outcome. The Central Office of the Microcredit and Savings Programs provided capacity building training to its staff members on financial management. The purpose of the 3-day training session that was delivered to heads of finance and their assistants was to strengthen the competence of the staff members on distributing loans and their return, as well as delivering effective financial service to consumers. Mr. Tedros Haile, Head of Finance of the program, and Mr. Abraham Haile, financial expert, called on the trainees to apply the training they have acquired in providing effective services to customers. The Microcredit and Savings Program that was established in 1996 has 25 branches and 73,542 customers and 336 employees. That was our domestic news. Please stay tuned now for the international news right after the short break. The EU has authorized at least 27 billion euros in direct military assistance to Ukraine since last year, the bloc's foreign policy chief Joseph Borrell said, touting the aid as the highest figure ever reached. Speaking to reporters ahead of an EU meeting in Brussels on Monday, Borrell outlined the agenda for the event, stressing that event with renewed violence in the Middle East, member states should not forget about Ukraine. While the bloc was set to discuss additional aid to Kiev, some member states have reportedly objected to continued generosity. According to multiple senior diplomats, Germany has had a lot of questions about the spending plan favored by Borrell, while other countries may be constrained by the reality of the public finances. Slovakia has publicly declared an end to all lethal aid to Ukraine, and France likewise announced that it would scale back arms shipments on Sunday, with the Minister of Armed Forces stating that Paris would no longer supply weapons from its own stockpiles. The EU is also seeking to deliver 1 million artillery shells to Ukraine by next March. It is struggling to meet that target, however, with Bloomberg reporting it has provided just 30% of the total figures. Ukrainian forces have burned through vast supplies of shells and other military gear amid the conflict with Moscow, with officials in Kiev repeatedly requesting more arms and ammunition from foreign supporters. Despite the Western aid, however, Ukraine's summer counteroffensive has launched on into the fall, with troops struggling to advance beyond heavy Russian fortifications. Moscow's defense ministry has estimated that Kiev has lost more than 90,000 troops, along with over 55 tanks and 1,900 armored vehicles, since its offensive began in June. Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in the United States for his first visit in 6 years, after U.S. President Joe Biden said his goal in their bilateral talks this week was to restore normal communications with Beijing, including military-to-military contacts. Xi will attend the annual summit of the 21-member Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) grouping, and it will be their first face-to-face meeting in a year, and follows a month of high-level meetings to prepare the ground after tensions between the two countries spiked over issues from trade to human rights and the pandemic. Speaking ahead of his departure, Biden said his goal was simply to improve the bilateral relations. Asked what he hoped to achieve at the meeting, he said that he wanted to get back on a normal course of corresponding and to be able to make sure that their militaries still have contact with one another. President Xi's current visit marks his first to U.S. since 2017, when he met the then president, Donald Trump. Please stay tuned now for a recap of tonight's headlines.